Okay, we are live, I suppose. Okay, hello everybody, hello everyone, and welcome for this third session of the JHipster YouTube live event organized by the JHipster Developer Association. We are here to talk about JHipster and companies. And we thought that it's important for us and for you to understand how JHipster can be used by companies to learn some use cases and to well just understand well how Jeepster can use. And we all know that Jeepster is not only and no is not at all how we can say hello world framework. So it's more than that, and this is why we gonna see tonight with the first presentation we'll do by Joe White. Welcome, Joe.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear
Hi.
me?
So, well, Joe is CTO at Entando, and he will talk about how he use JHipster for blueprints and microservices and micro frontends. And the second session, excuse me, will be done by Baer Studio and so by Rudy. Hello, Rudy. And also by Quentin.
Hello.
And Baer Studio is services company that use and contribute to JHipster a lot. So we are happy to host everybody tonight, and we could start now with Joe. Are you ready, Joe?
I'm ready.
Okay, when you want.
Okay. Can you switch to my screen? I've got my slides shared. There we go. Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. As Anthony mentioned, my name is Joe White. I'm the CTO here at Entando, and we're big users of JHipster. And what I'll do today is give you an overview, a little bit of a technical overview of how we use JHipster, some of the tools and capability that we've added to our blueprint and why we think blueprints are important to our customers and to our architecture. And then I'll spend a few minutes with a demo as well. So if you have any questions as we go, don't hesitate to throw them in the chat, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to jump in a little bit about Entando. Entando is an open source company itself. So everything that we do, we put out into the open source community, out into the open source world. And then we provide enterprise licensing and support on top of that open source software. So open source is part of our DNA. We believe very strongly in the power of open source, the power to drive innovation through open source, and the power of open source to really take the best of all of the ideas that are out there. We're also contributors to JHipster. So we add code, we add capability to the main JHipster blueprint. We occasionally have the ability to migrate functionality up to the main JHipster generator. And we're going to continue to do that and continue to add more functionality to the core of JHipster, as well as other open source projects that we participate in. We're also JHipster Gold sponsors, so we've had an opportunity to contribute to JHipster financially and provide some support to the community. And I would encourage everybody to go out and capture some of our bug bounties. So in particular on some of the Quarkus blueprint that I'll be talking about in a minute, we've got some opportunities to make some money contributing back to JHipster and to learn along the way. So when we talk about Entando, I'm going to give you a quick introduction to our philosophy and what we think about from an architecture perspective, and then I'll talk about how JHipster fits into this picture. So if you start over on the left, everybody knows about monoliths. You go back 10, 15, 20 years, everybody was building monoliths. Everything was tightly coupled, everything was deployed together, multi-month or multi-year upgrade cycles, and lots of challenges that come from that tight coupling. We kind of migrated to SOA, so service-oriented architectures. We had buses in between. Things were more decoupled, but still had some challenges with the way things that were coupled together, the way software was deployed and managed and migrated. Today, a lot of entities are in this space here, where you're starting to build microservices. You're starting to take advantage of some of the next generation of architecture and infrastructure in things like Kubernetes and containers and Docker. And on the back end, we're getting a lot of modularity. You get a powerful modularity from microservices. You get powerful modularity from tools like Spring Boot. and things like that. And then on top of that, we're building very large React applications or very large Angular applications. They provide a modern experience and they're very powerful, but they have some of the tight coupling challenges that we used to have in older architectures. And the goal of Entando and the goal of micro frontends is to extend that same modularity, that same value proposition out to the front end in the way we build applications. And so with micro frontends and with Entando, we provide a platform to build more modular architectures on both the back end and the front end. And JHipster is a big piece of that story. So what is a micro frontend? Really quickly. As I mentioned, the goal of a micro frontend is to extend that same loose coupling that you get with microservices on the back end to a front end architecture. So they're small, loosely coupled code bases, and they're meant to be independently tested and deployable, just like with microservices. So a lot of the lessons that you've learned building microservices, a lot of the best practices that come from microservices can be extended out to what you do with micro frontends. And then you use a tool or a platform like Entando to compose them into a final application for presentation to the end user. And the important thing there is that in the end, the user doesn't know if they're interacting with a single page application or with a micro frontend. But you get that modularity, you get the goal to move independently without having to tightly couple your front end together. And another important point is that micro frontends weren't invented or created by Entando. They're built on standard technologies, and they're built using standard tools like web components and for single page applications. There are a couple of different ways to build micro frontends, but they're standards based and they're supported in all the languages that people are building front ends in today. So you can build micro frontends in React, you can build micro frontends in Vue, you can build micro frontends in Angular, and in Entando, you can compose all those back together into an application. So from a micro front-end perspective and from an Entando platform perspective, the goal is to allow your teams to update iteratively and release independently. So move more quickly, create capability and get it out in front of your end customers. Use the tools that you already know. So use React, use Angular, use Vue, use what makes sense for your enterprise. And then keep things small. So create small pieces of functionality with an identifiable business purpose and then deliver them in incremental pieces. And then with Entando, you can reuse those components across multiple projects. You reuse them from the front end, you can reuse from the back end, but the goal is standardization. So how do you take a set of rules or a set of capability and then standardize across the enterprise and how you deliver and build your applications? So with that in mind, let's talk a little bit about Entando. I'll take you through the Entando architecture, and then we'll dive one level deeper and talk about what we do with JHipster and the workflow of JHipster and the power it brings to our architecture. So over here on the left, we have what we call the Entando component generator, and that's built on JHipster. So we have a JHipster blueprint that I will run for you that has the ability to generate components that are ready for installation into Entando. We take advantage of a pretty big set of the capability in the base generator, and then we override the things that we need to generate components ready for an Entando application. We also spend a lot of time talking to our customers about the power of JHipster blueprints and the power of standardizing what you do from a templating perspective. So when you put something in the hands of a developer, when you put something in the hands of an end user, you know that they're starting from a point that matches your expectations. And blueprints really give you the ability to encode those rules or encode that capability into where your engineers are starting. So the components you build with the Entando component generator from JHipster go into the Entando component repository. And the Entando component repository is a special set of Kubernetes APIs that make these components discoverable inside applications. So you can take a micro front end and the microservices that back it, package those up into a component, and then make them installable inside your Kubernetes cluster. That's all surfaced in the Entando app builder. And you can also take advantage of the Entando content management system. As we look forward with JHipster, as we get into December and early next year, our JHipster blueprint is also going to generate content management capability. So it's going to generate things like page models, page templates, content models, content templates, languages, things like that go into building content-driven applications will come out of our JHipster blueprint. That's all backed by the Entando app engine. So the app engine is the composition layer. That's the piece that takes all of this capability, all of your micro front ends, your microservices, and composes it into a final application. And it's not in this picture, but this is all driven by a Kubernetes operator. So we built a Kubernetes operator that knows how to take our JHipster microservices and make them installable automatically from the component repository. And I'll show you what that looks like in just a moment. And then that is all tied together by the Entando identity management system, which is built on Keycloak. So it's an open source identity management system. And what we do with the identity management system is provide a single view of identity into the application, and we connect up to what our customers are doing. So for example, we'd use Keycloak as a federated identity manager to connect to a customer's OIDC or a customer's LDAP or a customer's ADFS, and that provides abstraction to the rest of our tools. And we were able to use the JHipster capability out of the box to connect up to that Keycloak and take advantage of the capabilities that JHipster has built in the core generator. So diving one level deeper on the Entando component generator. These are the steps that go into generating a component using JHipster and the Entando blueprint and kind of where they're deployed to. And I'm going to show you some of these steps. I'm not going to show you all of them just in the interest of time. But we have a set of documentation. You can go through this yourself and try it all out. So over here on the left, the first step is to generate your components. And when we talk about component generation, that's running JHipster. So you run JHipster, you get your micro frontends out, you get your microservices out, and then you add other Entando components and other Entando capability as you go. So that could be page templates, content templates, things like that. And as I mentioned, we're going to have our blueprint generate those for you here very soon as well. Then you define your bundle and build your components. So our micro frontends are pushed to a Git repository, our microservices are pushed to a Docker registry, and then you generate a bundle descriptor. And I'll show you what this bundle descriptor looks like. But it's essentially a set of metadata that describes our JHipster generated microservice and the micro frontends that go with it in a way that can be understood by the component repository to expose to other applications. Then you deploy your bundle out to Kubernetes. And so this bundle includes references to our JHipster microservice and the micro frontends that we generated from JHipster. And they show up here in the component repository, and then they show up in the app builder. And you can hit an install button, and the Entando operator will provide the automation and capability to automatically install those components into your Entando application and make them available in the app builder environment. The other thing that we're focused on from a JHipster perspective is Quarkus. So, we're talking about generating microservices here in our component generator flow. Those microservices today in Entando are Spring Boot, but we want to support Quarkus as well. So eventually you could choose to run the Entando blueprint with JHipster and get Spring Boot, or the Entando blueprint and JHipster and get Quarkus out. So with that in mind, we are doing a lot of work and to some extent sponsoring the JHipster Quarkus blueprint. So this was started by a community member a while back, Daniel Batisme, and we've started to add capability and functionality to that as well. And this is also a great area for getting started contributing to JHipster and to the community in general. So there's a lot of development work going on here. Anthony Viard, who's in the chat here, is doing a lot of work on Quarkus, and we're working towards a kind of a 1.0 release of the Quarkus blueprint in JHipster. So I think it's something that has a lot of potential, a lot of power, and it really gives us the ability to create smaller, lighter weight microservices to back our micro frontends. So from my perspective, Grail VM and Quarkus are really, really nicely suited to working with micro frontends because you're going to be creating more and more microservices to support them. And being able to run them efficiently in a cost-effective way is going to be very important. So if you're interested in contributing, if you're interested in getting involved, definitely reach out to me, reach out to Anthony, and we can help you get started in the Quarkus blueprint. And there's plenty of bug bounties out there as well, so you can make a little bit of money contributing to JHipster. So I'll tie this out, and then we'll jump over and do a little bit of a demo. So from a technical perspective, what we're focused on with JHipster and some of what JHipster brings us is a completely modular architecture. So support for microservices, support for micro frontends, and the ability to package those things up and build them. Decouple your user experience and business logic. So create small reusable pieces of user experience and then decouple them via APIs with your underlying microservices. Everything we do is Kubernetes native, and you'll see how our JHipster services are deployed and managed in our Kubernetes environment here. Reuse your code via the Entando component repository. We're agnostic to approach, so we deliver to mobile devices, we deliver progressive web apps, we deliver web apps, and JHipster gives us the flexibility to generate all of those things. And then everything is API driven, and that includes the microservices that we generate with JHipster. And I will say, from a JHipster perspective, in the micro front end side, there's been some discussions in the community and some capabilities started with some of the contributors about how to extend the micro front-end concept all the way out to the applications that you generate with base JHipster. That's another area that would be really great to get some involvement. It's been something that I've intended to work on and haven't found the time yet. And there's definitely an opportunity to take the concept of micro front-ends and extend it into what JHipster does from a base level, even outside the Entando blueprint. And if you want to learn more about Entando, here's some links. We'll post these on our Twitter account. And you can always reach out to me in the JHipster community. Happy to help anybody get started with any of this. So with that in mind, I'm going to switch over to command line and run this. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what's different about the Entando blueprint and what we do that is unique. So you run the Entando blueprint, and it behaves very much like a normal JHipster application, with the difference that we've suppressed a number of options. And one of the things that I think is really powerful about the blueprint concept is that you have the ability to customize what you put in front of your end user. So you can be sure that what they're generating matches your expectations. So for example, in the Entando context, all we care about is the microservice option. We're not using the monolith capabilities in JHipster. And so we're generating just the microservice, and we don't even present the user with that option. I'm going to go through these quickly because they're mostly base JHipster options, and talk a little bit about the differences. And so base, the port, package, pick databases. And again, this is an area where we have the capability to use the blueprint to override what we put in front of our customer or put in front of our end user. These are the databases that we support. If you look at the base JHipster, there are other options, there's other capability that doesn't fit into the Entando platform. And so we only show the user the things that they can do inside of our platform. Pick our caching, hibernate, build system. So now we're on to some Entando custom stuff. So one of the things that's really powerful about blueprints and about the pattern is the ability to also add your own customizations. So I talked about bundles and the capability to reuse functionality. This prompt here is about naming the bundle you want to create to put into the Entando Digital Exchange or the Entando component repository. So this is a way to package up the capability you use in JHipster and then distribute it in a Kubernetes environment. You can also choose where you want to publish your Docker images. So we provide scripting capability around that. And so I'll publish this one to mine. But the goal here is really to allow an enterprise to publish these images to their internal repositories. You can also choose if you want to generate micro frontends when you create your entities. So the default Entando micro frontend generator is tied to entities. So when you create an entity, we automatically generate 3 micro frontends for every entity. So we generate a table, a form, and then a view, a detailed view for those. And then those can be customized to go into your application. We'll say always here, and then base internationalization and build systems. And then this will generate the normal JHipster content. And then the last thing I'll do on this piece is generate an entity and show you what we generate in this context. So again, we've overridden the base JHipster functionality using what's provided in blueprints. Let's call it name, string. I'll add one more. We'll call it location. And what you'll see here at the end, go through these very quickly, is this UI folder. So if you're familiar with the entity flow in JHipster already, this folder, this is different. This is the micro front-end capability that Entando provides out of the box. So we're generating a set of React-based micro front-ends that fit into our platform. As we look at extending this capability up into the base JHipster capability or under the base JHipster generator, we'll probably change these to use module federation and Webpack 5. But the important thing is we can use the blueprint to customize what we've done here. And so if we look really quickly at this, you'll also see we generate a set of scripting. So we generate bundles, Docker images, micro front ends, and then this UI folder. That's all custom capability that we were able to add to our JHipster generated microservice, our JHipster generated services using the blueprint pattern. So the next step, if we go back to our picture, the next step would be to define the bundle and then push these things to Git and push them to a Docker registry. In the interest of time, I'm going to skip that. I've got some pre-built stuff that I can show you guys. But out of the box, just like with normal JHipster, you can build your microservice, push it out to Docker. You can build your micro frontends, push them out to Git, and then you get a set of bundles. But what I want to show you is step 3, where we have some bundles available for installation in the component repository, and then a little bit about what it looks like in an installed application, and then the final product. We'll skip a couple steps because we've only got about 10 minutes left. So with that in mind, I'm going to switch over here to OpenShift. So if you're not familiar, OpenShift is a flavor of Kubernetes. It's a type of Kubernetes that's nice for demos and lots of other stuff. But OpenShift has a deployed Entando instance in it. So this is the Entando application. As I mentioned, we've got our operator. We've got a microservice already running. This is one of our JHipster-based microservices. We've got Keycloak, and then we've got our Entando application infrastructure. And so I'm going to log in there. And this is the Entando app builder. So as I mentioned, this is the environment where you interact with your micro front ends. This is the environment where you interact with your deployed components, the content management system, things like that. But from a JHipster perspective, if we go to the component repository, you can see we've got these different bundles. And these bundles contain JHipster generated functionality. So we've used our blueprint, generated a set of functionality, packaged it up, shipped it out to GitHub, and then made it discoverable inside of our Kubernetes environment. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to install the seed demo signup bundle. So the seed demo signup bundle includes a JHipster generated microservice and a set of micro frontends that will allow users to sign up to our final application. So if I hit install here, it'll start loading. And what I'm going to do is jump back to OpenShift to show you what's happening behind the scenes. So you can see we've got this Entando customer deployer and we've got this Entando customer link deployer. What's happening is the Entando operator is downloading the Docker image for our JHipster generated microservice, installing it into our namespace, and then connecting it up to the Entando application. So we're able to use relative path routing. We're able to use the power of ingress to connect our microservice into our Entando application. And there you can see the server deployment is coming. That is our actual microservice. These two pods will go away. And then once this is deployed, we'll have a new microservice automatically wired into our application and ready to use inside of our stack. So that'll take just a minute. We can probably watch the logs if you want. And if you've ever looked at, a JHipster log or a generally Spring Boot logs, this should look familiar. We've deployed our microservice. We're connected up to the health endpoints, and the Entando operator provides the automation to connect all of those things together and make them available in the application. So now we have two microservices as part of our application, and then we could go back to the Entando app builder and look at our components and take advantage of the micro front ends and the services that are inside of that app. Okay, that's being slow. So now we can have the ability to add them to pages and things like that. What I want to do now, since we've only got a few minutes left, is switch to a finished product. So you can take the micro front ends, you can take that capability that you've created and put it together into an application. So I'm going to switch namespaces where we've already built an app using our microservices. So again, we've got the same microservices. This is our sign up, this is our banking, our Entando application, Keycloak, things like that. And I'm going to go to the app builder again and go to the home page. So this application is an example Entando application built using JHipster microservices, the Entando CMS, and micro frontends. So the content you see here, this is all from the Entando CMS. If I go to the dashboard, we'll get a set of micro frontends and data from our microservices. So all the data that drives into these micro frontends comes from our microservices. So each one of these micro frontends is making an API call, connected up via Kubernetes ingress and Kubernetes routing. And then we've got three micro frontends here, and then we've got these two micro frontends as well. And then there's a micro frontend down here at the bottom. One of the powerful things about micro frontends is that you still have the ability to create interactive and rich experiences. So these micro frontends can talk to each other via contracts. So in the Entando case, we use custom elements and custom events, and so the micro frontends are communicating via the DOM. Essentially, they emit events into the DOM that can be consumed by other pieces of the application. So if I click on savings, you'll notice the transactions change automatically. These two micro frontends are completely independent. They can be evolved and changed in general, and then you still have the ability to deploy them. Essentially, it acts as a contract between them. Another interesting point about this is that these two micro frontends on the outside are the same. They're the same micro frontend configured in a different way using Entando. And then in the middle, this one is actually built using Angular. So something else that you can do with micro frontends is put different frameworks on the same page. It's not something you should do. So don't set out to do that. Don't set out to use Angular and React on the same page or even in the same application. But if in a migration case, or if you really, really want to, you can go and do that. It's a powerful way to mix and match different pieces of technology and capability. So that's a quick overview. I'll show you really fast how this looks inside of Entando. So I go to page management and edit this dashboard page. We'll see all those micro front ends. So this is an Entando page template, and then these are the micro front ends on the page. So for example, this seed transaction table is a customized version of the same table that we generate from the blueprint. So the blueprint automatically creates all of that capability for us. We add our customization, and then it's available. And then we add these via manual development. So that's a quick overview of what we do at Entando. And I see there's a question in the chat. So Pascal asked if we use the subgenerator for OpenShift provided for JHipster. And no, so Pascal, we don't. We have a set of custom capability in the Entando operator that knows how to automatically deploy and generate capability that can be deployed into an Entando namespace, into an Entando application from Spring Boot. And so we're using the base JHipster generator and then providing our own OpenShift and Kubernetes infrastructure. And I'll also note this demo is on OpenShift, but you can also deploy the same functionality in public cloud providers or in like K3S, different players of Kubernetes. So we have instructions for AKS, EKS, and GKE out on our documentation. So no, we're not using the OpenShift subgenerator for any of this at the moment. Anybody have any other questions? Okay, the last thing I'll point out, if you want to learn more about this, go out to dev.entando.org. You can join our Slack. Feel free to ping me directly. Happy to help you get started. Check out our documentation, check out the tutorials. You can get started in 3 steps, deploy a local Kubernetes, boot all this stuff up, check it out. This demo application is installable via our blueprint. We have images for this. So if you want to learn more, check us out at dev.entando.org. As I mentioned, 100% open source. Really interested to hear what you guys think. And for us, the power of JHipster really is that the ability to standardize and then customize via the blueprint pattern and the capability that we get out of the JHipster blueprints. And that's it. Thank you very much. Back to you, Anthony. Anthony, you're muted.
I think you can hear me now. Excuse me. So I said, thank you very much, Joe. It was really awesome. Great overview of what Entando can provide and all use JHipster. So Pascal asked a question, but maybe if you want to ask more questions to Joe, feel free to put your question on the chat, and we will try to have some question answer session just after the next the next talk. So we could just note your question or put on the chat, and we will collect them. So okay, so now it's the turn to Rudy and Quentin from Baer Studio. Are you here?
Yes, we are.
Yes, it's good. Are you ready?
I am at least. Ready? Are you here?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, but I think I have some trouble with my connection, so maybe you will do it alone.
Okay, for the moment, it's okay. We can hear you well.
Okay, so I suggest to start like that. If we have issue, we can maybe just tune or just.
Quentin can do
yes.
the whole presentation alone.
So great, really great. So it's your turn, and as I said, we will have some question and answer session just after the. So feel free to ask all the questions you need to Quentin or Rudy or Joe, and we will help you to answer you just after that. It's your turn, guys.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so Rudy, I'll let you start.
Okay, so I will just start by presenting us. I'm Rudy. I'm the founder and the CTO of Baer Studio. And Baer Studio is a company that now I founded in, I think, 4 years or 5 years later, I think so. And Quentin, present yourself.
Quentin, and I'm lead developer at Baer Studio since 3 or 4 years now. I joined Rudy a few times after I created the company.
And just quickly, Baer Studio is a small agency. We work mostly with early startup or early company. Sometimes we work with company not created officially. So that's give you some I don't know. I can't find my word. So, but okay, next. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. So yes, I think we had a disclaimer. You want to do it, Rudy?
Yes, I think you can understand it, but we are French and with French accent, and just talking after Joe is you can make a real comparison. So sorry about that, but I will try to do my best. But hopefully, Quentin is a better speaker than me in English, so I will let him talk more.
Yes, don't hesitate to ask questions if you don't understand.
Yes, and you can ask me to repeat if it's not clear. So how we start to use JHipster? For me, JHipster is particular because I discovered it in a conference in my previous company, and it was Julian that present JHipster. I don't remember which version it was. I think it's 1 or 2. I don't remember. And I remember because we in my previous company we are working with Java Spring backend and Angular frontend, but and some REST API, some weird REST API, and I remember because when I saw his presentation, I say, "Oh, this guy do what we are trying to do since now, I think 1 or 2 years, but without the generator, just building this stack, and he do it, and he do a generator. It was better than what we do in 1 year, in 1 or 2 years. So when I decided to create my company, I know I want to use JHipster, and I use JHipster at the beginning. And it told me my first project was with JHipster. Well, my first project for my first client was with JHipster. So that's how we start with JHipster.
Yes, so we are using JHipster with different use cases. It would be interesting to show the use cases, but there are standard use cases. The first one is JHipster just as a back office. For example, we developed a project to help a project owner to manage orders and stocks of optical stuffs. So it was the domain he was working in, and we helped him to manage the orders and the stocks by reading emails and showing some reading attachments of emails and showing some listings on the front end. So it was only a back office that was only used by him and his team. The second use case is a front office linked with a back office. I will take an example. We helped a company that had an Excel sheet with a lot of computations that they were using to calculate and to simulate air conditioning creation. So all the business logic was in the file, so they couldn't give this file to their own clients, because otherwise all their business logic would have been sold to their clients. So we created a project with the business logic in the backend that the people couldn't see, and we built a front end that their clients were able to use. So it helped them a lot. And the last one is the back office and mobile app. And I'll talk about a mobile application named Walk United, but I'll do this later to have more accuracy on this use case, and we'll study this one. That's it for the use cases.
And in 4 years, we work with several cloud provider. We of course we work with the most famous AWS and Heroku, but we also deploy it on Clever Cloud. Sometimes we even work with IBM Bluemix for one project. I don't remember in detail, but we deploy JHipster on it, and we deploy it also in Sagi, in the Sagi platform. It's a big data platform, and we used to deploy JHipster application. I think we deploy it on Azure also, but I'm not sure. But we work with several cloud provider, and we have some experiences with some small detail on each one of these provider.
Like getting logs on AWS.
Yes.
JHipster evolved in the front end, and we did the same. When I arrived at Baer Studio, we were working with AngularJS. We were very happy to work with this. It was a great framework. And then they introduced the second version of Angular. In the same time, a lot of people told us that React.js was great. So we started to work with React.js, but it was painful to have a React.js app that was not generated by JHipster, because we had to link it with the JHipster backend. So it was sometimes time consuming. So we were really happy when React.js was introduced in JHipster, because we were able to use it. And concerning Vue.js, we already developed project with Vue.js. We are not liking this as much as React, but for us, it's a very good news that Vue.js is now integrated to JHipster, just because we know that sometimes some customers of us can just ask us to work with Vue.js because they have maybe they already have developers that know this technology. So it's great to be able to choose depending on the client's wish to.
And I have a special thanks to make, because when JHipster introduced React.js, it was a good relief for me, because one of my associates, it's the lead developer on front, was always complaining about Angular, and when React was ready to use, it was a relief for me. It complained about TypeScript, but it complained less. So thank you. I think it's Deepu that had the React.js. So thank you, Deepu, or everyone work on it. Thank you very much.
Yes, I think everyone at Baer Studio can thank you, because he's raging a lot. Okay, so now we'll study a specific use case that is the mobile application named Walk United. I will try to explain what is Walk United and why we decided to use JHipster, what it brings to the project. So Walk United is an application that basically it will count how much you walked during a day. For example, today we are under lockdown, so I didn't walk much, but it will count the number of steps, let's say 3,000. And with this number of steps, I will be able to make donations to charities. So I can choose, as you can see here on the home screen, I can choose a donation campaign, and then I will be able to donate to this campaign. What you've got to know is that the money comes from a company that will pay the association, the charity, to be able to have visibility on the app. So when I click on this button to donate, I will first have to look at the 10 seconds advertisement video for the company, and at the end of the video, the donation will be made, and the donation is like maybe 5 or 10 cents, but with the amount of users, it's at the end it's much for the charities. So this is how Walk United works. Another thing that is important with Walk United is that the application has been started to be developed by another company before we did, but the project was judged as being too slow for the customers. It was not finished to develop, and they had an important deadline. So this is why they came to see us and ask us to start development because they knew that they couldn't have the project like it was working only on Android and not iOS. So on the context, we had to do this very quick because of the deadline that is the Armada, the event that stands in Rouen. So we had only a few months to develop
I
the
think it
application.
was 1 month or two. I think it's 2 months or
Yes, I think we had like 2 months to have a first version of the application. Okay, so here you can see a few screens of the back office. Maybe you can recognize some JHipster signs like on the menu. So there is a basic connection page. You can, on the back office, you can add a donation campaign. You can create it and your usage. Okay, so we'll try to cover which needs we had or our clients had for this application. I will divide the needs in two sides: the direct needs and the indirect needs. What I call direct needs are the needs that the client knows about. For example, he knows that he needs he needs a mobile application that can retrieve user steps. He knows that he will need an authentication. He knows that he will need an API to be able to retrieve data like companies, association, donation campaigns, and to be able to create donations. He will also need, so as I said, in the back office to create and edit campaigns, companies, charities, and so on. So those are the direct needs that he really needs. This is something that the direct needs that the client doesn't always know about. We see it at Baer Studio because we worked with a lot of project owners that are new project owners. They are new company founders, and they don't always know what they will need in the future for the project to work technically, but also in the functional part. For example, there is the need to manage users. A typical use case is that a few days after the project has been released, they will have users that will come and say, please, I don't receive the and it didn't work, maybe because of network issues, but they will have to support their users. So this is where managing users is important, to have a listing, to be able to activate or resend the activation link. And as I said, they don't really know that they need this kind of listings, but it's very important for us because otherwise the project won't be able to work. Then there is another indirect need that is to be able to check data sets. What I mean by that is just being able to see the the data, to be able to understand what happens in the application, to be able maybe to debug if they have interns in the company, or just help the client by checking the data and understanding how it works and what happens. And finally, they will need statistics, just because if they don't need it directly, they will probably get the funds from business angels, and those business angels and investors will need to to see some statistics of the app, to know if they put the money at the right place. So they will need to come to be able to know how much users, how many users they have, how many donations were made, and so on. So those are the needs that we had to cover when starting on the project. So why does JHipster brings to it? Why JHipster helps? First, I would say that it covers most of the indirect needs. If we have a look at the indirect needs, it allows to manage users. It allows to check data sets thanks to screens that are basic, but that are here. So we don't have to develop anything, and everything is already there. It doesn't cover statistics, but we'll talk about it later. So it covers the indirect needs, but it also covers some of the direct needs. For example, the authentication is already covered. It's already API-oriented generator, so we already have an API. When you generate the entities, you can already create and edit, even if it's not screens that you can't directly put in the customer's hand, but everything is already there, so it can help. And it also covers other things like it sends mails. When you want to create an account, you receive a mail. So it seems to be logic for JHipster, and it seems to be basic, but this is very important because you need this to be able to have a great authentication. You also have a database with migrations. One more time, it seems logic to have this with a generator, but put that in place can take some time. You also have a logger, a security configuration. So as I said, all the indirect needs are covered. Also a part of the direct needs, but there are also in the technical indirect needs that are covered. So it helps a lot. As we said before, it's easy to deploy. We talked about Clever Cloud, that is one of our preferred cloud provider. It's a French cloud provider that we are using a lot, and now it takes like not even 10 minutes to deploy on this platform. So for us, this is awesome, just because most of the time we are working with new clients, with new customers. The business relation is at the beginning, and this is important to be able to show them very fast that we've got something that we are going forward on the project. And most of the time, if you recreate things by yourself, you will just focus on technical things because it's the setup. For example, you will focus on the security configuration, you will focus on the database, you will focus on many things that the customer can't see. So he won't know if he can trust you, or if just if he can trust you, and if when you tell him that the project is going forward, if it's true or not. So
it's in the business part, it's really important because we are a small company and we need to be paid, and to be paid we ask for payment in advance and at some part. So being able to show something to the client is it's easier for asking just after. Okay, now you can pay the part of the bill, please.
Yes, this is a big step, and yes, this is what I wanted to say with the great back office interface, because you're just running a command and you have a back office with authentication, mail sending, and so on. So there is a lot in a few you can have a lot in a few minutes. So this is helping a lot. There is the low budget thing. What I mean by this argument is that our clients at Baer Studio, when they are creating a new project, most of the time they won't have thousands of euros or millions of euros to spend, and thousands of euros to spend in a back office that is not what they directly need. What they directly need, for example, is a mobile application that they can show to their users. But they don't want to spend so much money on the back office that they will just use, that only them will use. So being able to bootstrap it very fast help us to spare money on this one, to save money on this one.
It also helps us to avoid very long discussion to try to explain why they need to manage user, why they need sending emails. So it's really helpful.
Yes. There is another thing that is that the JHipster is built with famous technical tools, for example, Spring Boot and let's say React. This is great because most of the time when at Baer Studio we will develop the project, and when the time goes by, we will try to put the project in our customers' hands. I mean the technical part. For example, if they have interns, developers that have a low experience, we will try to show them and to onboard them on the project to be able to develop new features or to fix some bugs. And the fact that it's developed on its integrating say that it's often learned in school or in technical project or school project. And the last thing I want to focus on is that it's time saving. I already said before, and I think you already understood it, but I wanted to focus on 3 points. The first point is project evolve using the G.
Yes, I will try to. Quentin, you seems to be buggy, so I will try to take
think about
the lead. Quentin, sorry about that. So he's not talking now. Okay. So yes, like Quentin said, it's time saving for bootstrapping. He explained before that how it helps us to start quickly. Also, didn't mention it, but when it's evolving, it's a good point because we can provide we can make evolve the application with a new version. It could be harder sometime if we don't do it in the good way, especially in our first project. We didn't. We had less experiences, so we didn't do. We didn't have the good practice. I remember we worked on generated service on the first project, so it was difficult to make it evolve. But now we have learned, and we pay attention on that. And also for debugging, it's a good thing because I think everybody knows in JHipster you can manage directly from the back office to show the log or not. So it's really time saving because that's things that we are not spending time to build it. It's already built, and it's already built in the right way.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes, it's okay.
Okay. Okay, so I will try to continue and tell me if it's not okay.
Okay, you can. I just explained the time saving, so now you can take it back, but the time saving it's okay.
Okay, yes, I just wanted to say one last thing is that yes, we're generating all the entities, all the database schema with the GDL, and it's important to know that we can make it evolve because JHipster is not only helping on the generation of the project, but also when we want to regenerate the entities, for example. As we said, we are working with early clients, early customers, and early projects, and this is important for us to be able to add or remove fields very fast. And the thing I want to talk about is the way we are working technically with the generations. I think it's a known way to do this, but as you probably know, if you use JHipster, when we are regenerating an entity, because we had a field, for example, it will try to overwrite the services, override the controllers, and so on. So what we are doing to prevent this overwrite is to code all our business logic in extended services. So if there is a donation entity, we'll have a donation service, for example, and we'll create all our business logic, like the create a new donation method. We'll create it in a donation service extended that just extends the donation service. And this is important because when we'll regenerate the donation entity, we will be able to overwrite all the files without checking and having to merge the different versions. So it allows us to regenerate and to migrate to JHipster to a newer version if needed. So this is the way we are extending the services, controllers, and so on.
I don't know if it's obvious for JHipster contributor, but the important point for us is that we are not now we are contributor, but we start to use JHipster really like customer. We use it and we learn to use it, and and obviously we make some mistakes at some point.
Yes, and so what's next for us? Rudy, I'll let you explain.
You need to change the screen.
Okay, it didn't change because it changed for me, but maybe I lagged. So you still see the previous screen?
Yes, it's all. Yes. Okay, I will get it back. Just give me
Okay,
one
maybe
second.
I can try to stop. I will stop sharing and reshare my screen. Maybe it will unblock the thing. Is
Sorry
it okay?
about that. Yes, now it's okay.
Okay, it was blocked.
Yes. So what's next for us? When I start the company, I want to use JHipster, but I also want to contribute. But at the beginning, it was a small team and small experience. So now since a few months we are contributing. So I'm really happy. I'm really proud of that. And we also trying to develop some blueprint and some module. We talked to the later about statistics because every client, especially in the beginning of the project, asks us for statistics, and it's the kickoff meeting, and you say, okay, you want statistics, but what statistic? I don't know. I want statistics. Okay, so we are working on the small module that will just count the entity, each entity, and provide some block with a number and maybe some small charts, and it would be nice for us because when clients will ask for statistics at the beginning of the project, we can answer, okay, we have statistics, so now when you will know what you want, go back, but now you have your statistic and go on. And also, I think Ivan is working on my lead front-end developer that complain always. Is working on the what does he say on the start UI the front start UI that can be connected to JHipster. He released it.
Yes. He's working on creating a new front end with a React query, Chakra UI, and so on. So our preferred build.
And the next step is also to talk about JHipster. That's why we are here. And thank you again for invite us. And we are trying to help the community. JHipster help us to grow up our company, and now we will do what we can for help JHipster to grow up again, even if he don't really need us for existing. So thank you. Sorry about the technical problem and also for my English. Anthony, you are back.
I'm
Yes.
here. Thank you, guys. So sorry the chat. We had some network issue, but well, at the end it worked. So I think it's okay. And when you turned off content, your camera, it was really good. So it was a really good feedback. Exactly what I'm looked for, and I think it was really interesting to know how do you use JHipster and what kind of application you can do with. So thank you very much. And I hope to see you more and more for contributions, I guess.
Yes, I'm pretty. It's a company. It's a democracy, but I like to be a tyrant. So I tyrannize my team to make them working on open source project and make some contribution.
And of course, if like Baer Studio, you want to contribute by yourself or by your company, feel free to contact us, and probably we can help you to find some subjects or just to know how to start with. So now we have some questions. Maybe we could, I don't know, Pierre, we could join by Joe and try to ask so many questions. So we add on in the chat. So Joe, are you here with us?
I am still here.
So this is great. So I suggest to have some cool session, something like JHipster and chill, and try to answer to questions we have in the chat during all the session. So the first question, well, it is one. Maybe we could add light on question and try to answer them. I don't know if. Oh yes, the first one. Thank you. We have some wonderful backstage person as Pierre now. So thank to him to help us for doing that. So the first question. So maybe it was for Baer Studio. So can you answer that?
Okay. I thought you will repeat the question, so that's why. Okay. Yes. I think we could.
So the question is, do you have any idea of many projects to deploy in production with JHipster?
Yes, I think we count it when we start to make
yes
this presentation. But
yes, we count. It was about it was more than 10 projects that are in production, but we didn't count all the projects. So we just started by memory, and it was about 10 projects.
It's more than 10. It's wonderful. And so we have another question.
So the question is, I think everybody can probably see it, but how do you deal with multiple micro frameworks from a performance perspective? It's a good question. As I mentioned, the best practice is not to use more than one micro front-end framework inside of a single application. So the goal would be, if you're building React, build React. If you're building Angular, build Angular. Don't set out to mix and match. Don't set out to adopt multiple frameworks in a single application just because you can. So it's a case where the tools give you the capability to do something that you probably shouldn't do. And so we definitely recommend not doing that. From a performance perspective, there are considerations in micro frontends. Make sure that you're only importing shared resources once. So for example, if you're importing the vendor.js, only do that one time. Make sure you're importing that on a per page basis and then reuse it across multiple micro frontends. So from a multiple framework perspective, the answer is just don't do that to yourself. If you're using it from a migration perspective, there are going to be cases where you do it. And in those cases, you just have to make sure that you're only importing shared resources one time and share everything that you can across multiple micro frontends.
Okay, so I understand. Oh yes, so this question I think is related to Baer Studio presentation. So we talk about how do you extend the files you add with JHipster, and I think this is patterns. This called side by side. So for people that don't know what side by side is a way of work that have been that people that talk about. I think it was and Antonio from Antonio Concalves. That from Gvox, he took Gvox example to explain how they use side-by-side pattern to avoid to change JHipster files. And so you use that, you say that, and Pascal asked, instead of using side-by-side pattern, you try to use hexagonal architecture instead?
I hope you can hear me well.
Yes, kind of, yes.
Okay. No, we didn't use the hexagonal architecture. We saw different talks about it, but we think it will be slower than the side-by-side thing. So, Rudy, I don't know if you have a.
Yes, we didn't try, and like we say on the example project, we have only short time to make it, and our clients are not really very aware of what they really need. So we don't try. I think for using it, we need some experiences now. Maybe we can try, but at the beginning of the company and in the first year, we didn't have the experience to try, and so we need to talk about it, but we didn't try. And Pierre, I think Anthony is back. You are mute, Anthony.
Yes, excuse me, this is the second time because yeah, I have my children that are coming in my desk and they do a lot of things. I just go away, so I'm sorry. And I was leave just to close the door, so it was not because I don't want to heard your questions. So listening to questions. So the last question we have for tonight. No, I think this is not this one. This is the one that we are like. We already answered to this one. Yes, this is this one. I think this one from Pascal is really interesting because we are talking about micro frontends with Joe in Entando platform, and also we have micro frontends tickets on JHipster. And I know it's had a lot of we had a lot of discussion about that. And the question you can have is, does micro frontend in JHipster could be a dream or something that could be reality in next versions?
So I can provide my input there. I've spoken to, I believe, Matt Rabel's in the chat. I thought I saw him pop up there. I think micro frontend has a lot of opportunity to operate in a lot of different architectures, including in JHipster and Entando, and other applications like that. So, it's not going to be in 7, but I think with Webpack 5 and Module Federation, there's a lot of powerful capability there. And the ticket that Pascal linked is the right one. And I think that there's a lot of discussion remaining, a lot of things to talk about, but I think it could be something that makes a lot of sense in JHipster and for the future of front-end development in general.
Okay, so it's been good. And I don't know, maybe Matt, if Matt is here, he can answer us in the chat. But if some people want to contribute on it, you can check the ticket that Pascal link. So
if you want to talk about micro frontend, you can invite Ivan, my complainer, my developer complainer. It's I think he will have many things to talk about it. So feel free to invite him.
So it's a great news. So you can
People won't like Ivan.
So you can share it.
People won't like Ivan after how Rudy presented him like a complaining front-end developer.
So you can share him the link, and I think we have a lot of discussion on it. So maybe you can join us to that. So I think we are done for today. It was really, really great. It's now a little bit more than an hour we are together. So the time is out now. And I would like to thank everyone. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Rudy. Thank you, Quentin. It was really, really great. Exactly what I'm expected. So I'm really happy to these sessions. For people, I hope, for people that was there, I hope you understand well what we want to explain to you, and especially if you are in companies, maybe you can tell company to join us and try to at least use JHipster or contribute to the project. So we will have another sessions in 2 weeks, and we have 2 more companies. So let's connect to the JHipster Twitter account. We are close to do the announcement, and we hope to do more this kind of sessions. So if we want to participate to the sessions, feel free to contact me or Pierre or anything in the team if you want, and we could see together what we can do and maybe create another session. So any final word, guys?
Well, thank you, everybody. Look forward to interacting with you on the community. And if you want to learn more about micro frontends, head out to that ticket that Pascal linked, or join us on Entando. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for the invitation, and I hope that we answered some questions here, and don't hesitate to ask more or try to get some of our experience on developing on JHipster for early companies.
Yes, great. And special thanks to Pierre that is doing everything in the backside and so backstage, so we can see him, but he's managing everything. So it's really great. Thank you, Pierre. Thank you very much. Oh, excuse me, Rudy, you want to say something to finish?
No, just thank you for the invitation, like Quentin said,
Great.
and nice mustache.
Oh yeah, Movember style. Okay. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.